Hard labor. But it's the way much of India works. In industrialized countries, turning rocks into gravel is done by machines. But in the developing world, people are cheaper than machines. Cheapest of all are children. In rural India, the earnings are much less, says activist Ravi Chauhan. People work for 30, 40, maybe 20 rupees a day. It's very difficult to feed all the children, so they send them to work. 20 rupees a day is less than 50 cents, and that's for adults. The low wages are part of what make products from the developing world so cheap. Child labor is officially illegal in India, but at least 60 million children, some as young as 6, work for a living. It's an important part of many of the country's traditional export industries, like carpet weaving. Mohan Kumar is 11, but already he's a veteran weaver. His parents sold him for about $5 to a man who said he'd get him a good job. They used to make us work 16, 17 hours a day, he says. When Mohan tried to leave, his employer used the same tool used for weaving carpets to leave these marks on his face. So what's the solution? India says Western pressure won't help end these abuses. Although it's a slow process, it says it's solving the problem on its own by working harder to enforce labor laws and by improving its economy. The government says the only way to end labor abuses is to lift families out of poverty so children won't have to work and employers will have to offer better conditions. Banning child labor hasn't ended the practice. India says it requires a wider approach that will take billions of dollars and years to address.
Most of the problem is really that education is not accessible to people in the rural areas. And therefore, the parents find it cheaper, better, more profitable to send their children to these organized factories.
Child labor is the most visible abuse, but it's not the only one drawing fire in the West. In a country like India, where there's no shortage of cheap labor, adults often work up to 18 hours a day with no minimum wage and no safety standards. Easy to criticize, India says, but the solution isn't sanctions, it's help in improving its economy. Jane Araf, CNN, New Delhi.